What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. I hope you guys are having a terrific week. It's time for Mike's Essential Six. I'm going to say this: 1998 was an unforgettable year. When you think of 1998, you think about the home run chase between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, Yankees winning 114 games that year, eventually winning it all, Michael Jordan's last championship with the Bulls and hitting that famous The Last Shot against the Utah Jazz. But what I want to talk to you about is the 6 albums that will be turning 25 this year in 2023. Crazy, right? 25 years, huh? But 1998 produced so many great albums from a variety of different genres. But I'm gonna handpick 6 albums that are some of my favorites from that year and also give a few honorable mentions. So we're gonna get started right now. I gotta start from the top. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. This album is impeccable, is great. It's a 5-star caliber album. This album have so many themes such as love, God. Lauryn Hill talks about her pregnancy experience, her time with the Fugees and how things ended. I mean, the album won 5 Grammys out of 10 nominations. I'll say that again. The album won, Lauryn Hill, and 5 Grammys out of 10 nominations. And it's just an unforgettable album. You had so many classic hits, so many good singles like Doo Wop, which is my favorite one in the album. Another one of my favorites is Till Zion featuring Carlos Santana, X Factor, Everything is Everything, Can't Take My Eyes Off You. The list just goes on and on and on. This album is, you had a blend of reggae, R&B, neo soul. It's just a magnificent album. So it's gonna turn 25 this year, so definitely arguably the best album of 1998. Next up is Outkast Aquemini, and the creative of coming up with this name, it had to do with Big Boys and Andre 3000's Zodiac Signs. I'm not the biggest fan of Zodiac Signs because people use that to dictate their lives. But anyways, Big Boy's Zodiac sign is Aquarius, and Andre 3000's is Gemini. I'm a Gemini, so there's so many legends and great artists that were born around that time who are Gemini, such as Tupac, Biggie, I think Ice Cube as well. There's just so many names, and Andre 3000 is one of them. So that's how they came up with the title of the name. The album had some 1970s funk and gospel sound, as well as country, sound as well. Some of the themes that this album has are talks about addiction, human nature, technology. One of my favorite, no, not one of my favorite, but my favorite song in this album is Rosa Parks. And I also like the music video as well. The production is outstanding, great lyricism. The Art of Storytelling is another good song featuring Slick Rick. And at the time, Slick Rick came out of jail. So definitely one of my favorite albums in 98 and one of the best ones of 1998. This next one, oof, I love this one so much. It's an album that is still being played to this day. And as a Latino, it makes me very happy to see the success of this album from this artist who's no longer with us. And his name is Big Pun, and the album is called Capital Punishment. Capital Punishment got nominated for Best Rap Album at the Grammys, but lost to Jay-Z's Volume 2 Hard Knock Life, which will be the next one I'll be talking about. But Capital Punishment is a fantastic album. To me, it's almost close to being perfect. For this album to be perfect. you have so many good songs. Still Not a Player featuring Joe, and I love the music video, by the way. Twins, which it was sampled from Deep Cover from 1992, but in this one, I like this version better for me because it's Big Pun and Fat Joe and together they make great music, and the music video is also fascinating as well. Beware, one of my favorite songs of the album. I love Prodigy's background. I gave you fair warning, beware, beware. The lyricism in that song is just great. This song in total, this album in general, Big Pun has outstanding lyrics, outstanding metaphors, verses, but Beware is definitely one of my favorite ones. Super lyrical, featuring Black Thought is also a good one. You Ain't a Killer, fantastic production and very catchy. So the album is outstanding. Big Pun, the first solo Latin artist to go platinum. Just a classic hip hop album, one of the most impressive hip hop debuts of all time. And yeah, Capital Punishment, one of the best in '98. Next up, like I said, Jay-Z's Volume 2, Hard Knock Life. This album in particularly, how can I say, this album, especially with the song Hard Knock Life, which is the ghetto anthem version, was the moment where it made people say Jay-Z is no average rapper. After having a disappointment Volume 1 in my Lifetime album, because he was still grieving Biggie's death, this was the album, and mostly because of that song, is where it took Jay-Z to a whole different level. In a time where it was post Tupac and Biggie era, because they were the face of hip hop when they were alive, someone, especially New York, needed to take the reins. And in that year, '98, it was Jay, DMX, and Ja Rule. But Jay, with this album, took it to a whole nother level. Not as big as DMX, because DMX, I feel like in 1998, '99, DMX was bigger than Jay at the time. But in terms of as an artist individually, it took Jay to a whole different level. Volume 2, A Hard Knock Life, is one of his best-selling albums of his career. He ended up selling over 5 million copies in the US. And he didn't do it by himself, because he also had an outstanding producing team that contributed to the album. You had Swizz Beatz, Timbaland, Jermaine Dupri, and Irv Gotti, who all contribute to the album, and those are some of heavy hitters there. Some of his other hit singles are Can I Get Up, which is part of the Rush Hour soundtrack, which Rush Hour soundtrack has some good songs in it. And every time I think about Can I Get Up, I think about that scene of Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker when Chris Tucker is driving. So definitely one of my favorite scenes of that movie. And it came out in 1998 as well. As you can see, that was a big year. But yeah, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, definitely one of the best albums of 1988. Next up, DMX, It's Dark and Hell Is Hot. DMX, one of my favorite rappers of all time. Rest in peace to the great DMX. This album is a classic. I can't believe it's gonna turn 25 this year in the month of May, my birthday month. And this album had so many good songs. Starting with Get At Me Dog, which I feel that was the song that caught, that made people pay more attention to DMX. And it was produced by Irv Gotti, I believe, as well. Irv Gotti was part of the producing team. Dame Grease, PK, Swizz Beatz. Other good songs are the Rough Riders Anthem, which was produced by the great Swizz Beatz. How's It Going Down? I like How's It Going Down in the version with Faith Evans. Her background vocals, she killed it. She killed it. So I love that version. Stop Being Greedy is another one of my favorites. Damien, Fucking With D, The Convo. This album had so many good songs. And I gotta say this, Dame Grease deserves his flowers. He deserves his flowers. He produced 13 tracks of this album. And it was just, it's a mind-blowing album. It's just great. A great album. This album is the album where DMX emerged, and like I said, DMX from 98 through 2001, he was a powerhouse artist. Last but not least, 400 Degrees. Juvenile's 400 Degrees. Oof. We're talking about a classic Southern hip hop album coming from New Orleans. It's Juvenile's best-selling album of his career, and the entire 18 tracks of this album was produced by the great Mannie Fresh. Cash Money, I mean, when you talk about Cash Money Records, you gotta talk about Juvenile's 400 Degrees. You just have to. And he had so many, this entire album was phenomenal, but the two songs that sticks out to me the most are Ha and Back That Thing Up, or as you guys would like to say, Back That Ass Up. But Ha, it's a funny title. It's a funny title to name a song like that. I remember I first used to watch the music videos when so many of these artists would put it on their BET's Top 25 countdown. And for so many years, I was like, he's not rapping. This guy is talking in the song. But once you hear that chorus, it gets you pumping and jumping. So, but clearly, Back That Thing Up is the #1 song of that album. It tops charts on billboards. And as soon as you hear that beat, the start of that beat, whether you're at a club, at a party, whatever, people are like, oh, and that's when girls, start doing what they're gonna do. But once you hear the doom, 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 you know it's on. No lyrics, no nothing, just that sound. Doom, 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 doom. Wow. Classic album, 400 Degrees. But yeah, Juvenile's 400 Degrees, classic Southern hip hop album, and definitely one of the best in 1998. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, aside from the home run chase, Michael Jordan's last title with the Bulls, etc., I can't forget, it was the start of the Attitude Era. No, I'll say this, the Attitude Era started with DX, which was in late 1997, but it was 1998 that the Attitude Era hit its peak, thanks to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I'll give Vince McMahon his credit as well, because their rivalry took the company to a whole different level. But Stone Cold Steve Austin single-handedly revolutionized the company, and it was in 1998. So yeah, I needed to mention that. It's time for me to give a few of my honorable mentions, which are 4 of them, starting with Moment of Truth by Gang Starr, Ray of Light, Madonna's album, Hello Nasty by Beastie Boys, and Black Star by Mos Def and Talib Kweli. So those are a few of my honorable mentions that I felt like I needed to mention. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys for today. Thank you for watching this video. Hit that thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And as always, be safe. And may God bless you all. Have a great weekend.